Hold on, can you hear me? Just checking.
Yeah, Thiago, I can hear you.
Okay, but can you hear Mario? I can't hear him.
You can't hear me.
Not here. Now.
Yes, we can, Mario. I can hear everyone loud and clear.
But now you can hear me.
Mario.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I was messing around with 5 different microphones here. It's a little bit of a mess, but now let's get cracking. Good morning, everyone. For the newcomers as well, welcome to Theo. Today we're going to talk about the 6 human needs, and I apologize for some of the people who are in the mentoring at this point. I do know that it may sound repetitive, but we had an amazing session last week with Thiago's team in Brazil, and I thought it would be a great time for us to kind of reinforce some of these concepts and then perhaps engage in a discussion about how powerful they are, and also some of the things that we can apply them for, right? So without further ado, let's get cracking. So Theo is acting a little bit weird today. Why are they important? So when we talk about the human needs, right, why do you think they're important? To me, the most important part about the 6 human needs is that you understand where you are in your personal journeys, and by knowing what exactly it is that you need, it's easier for you to understand how you react to what you're feeling, right? Many times we feel a sense of anxiety, a sense of loss at something, but when you're able to land those sensations in very specific and concrete words, it becomes easier for you to drive the behavior on yourself that you want, right? So it's very much about how do you ensure that you're on the top of your game by knowing how you're feeling, okay? Because everybody needs something at some point. The other thing it's important for is your projects, right? Why is that? Because when you're starting something, when you're creating something, you usually have to focus very much on the activities, right? I like to say that the big painters, they usually started with a drawing, right? And you only get to see the painting after it's completed. But until that point, you have to draw lines and lines of charcoal, right? And because you can see the big picture other than in your mind, sometimes you start wondering, okay, is this the right thing to do? And the reality is that when you understand what you're needing at a certain point in time, it becomes easier for you to basically act on the things that you need to act, okay? The last thing is your customers, right? And I cannot emphasize this enough, because, if selling is the art of providing what people want and then giving them what they need, it becomes a natural aspect of doing business that you understand needs, right? And at a larger scale. So when we are in a situation where we are dealing with whatever type of customer, right? The more we understand the needs, the human needs, the easier it is for us to react to whatever it is that we are trying to sell. And I'm saying trying because the selling process, it's usually a matter of you pinning down the needs that people have, right? You're landing them for them in their mind before you're actually working with them. So the more you understand those needs, the easier it is for you to get the job done, all right? So, questions up to this point. Why the human needs are important? Anyone? All right. So, in the 6 human needs, there are 2 types of needs, right? The needs of personality and the spiritual needs. I'm going to outline them briefly here, but essentially, the way they work is that it's a progress, right, between first and 6. But the first 4, certainty, variety, significance, and love, they operate in ranges, and the last two, they're basically building blocks. So the best description for that is this triangle here, where we see, okay, it's an inverted triangle if you look at it with your mind, right? So in the first four, whenever we're talking about certainty and variety, right, we are all feeling that all the time, both certainty and variety. The need to be certain and the need for variety, okay? The need for significance, the need for love. At one point, we also need to grow, okay? At one point, we also need to ensure that we're contributing. But those are building blocks, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all of the 6. And when we're done, we're going to come back to this slide. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to say, okay, now this is how this triangle is constructed, right? Again, focus on understanding oneself, focus on understanding your customer, right? That is the benefit that you have when you're thinking about the human needs. Your customers, they're going to need something, right? The more you understand and you're able to articulate that, the easier it's going to be for you to sell to them. Okay? So, first one, the most basic one, certainty. Why certainty important? Well, in the time of the caveman, right, when we were sitting in caves and eating bananas and trying to figure out what was going to happen with the world, you know, within the next 2 hours, because that was kind of how much time we could gather. It was very important that we were certain about a couple of things. First, can I be fed? Right? Second, do I have protection against the weather? Okay, so imagine a situation where you're the caveman, you're sitting there, and you don't know what's going to happen to you. The one thing that you want is certainty. Okay? Now, as we evolved, there is an element today of, okay, I want to ensure that I'll be safe, but also mentally, emotionally, physically, right? So it's not only the roof over my head, but it's that safety concept that is overarching, if you will. So when we have that concept in mind of certainty, right? Imagine the following, right? And I'm very much for practical examples. You're dealing in a consulting business with someone who needs to, and I'll take your business, Tiago, as an example, right? You're helping someone financially. That person needs to capture an opportunity that's going to enable them to be more certain about their present or their future, right? What does that mean? I need to buy medicine, right? Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to be safe physically. And I need to borrow money for that, right? So you're kind of doing a service for that person that enables that person to be certain about something, okay? Now, this need is in all of us, right? And most of the time, we are all feeling that, okay? It's the most basic one. But too much certainty, as we've learned over the last 6 months, is complicated, right? We need variety. We need a level of difference in our day-to-day. What does that mean, right? The perfect example to me is what happened during the COVID crisis, right? Well, it's happening now. There's a lot of people who, in the first 2 months of the COVID crisis, they were extremely afraid of moving out of their places, right? But they started losing that fear when the need to get out started being bigger. Does that make sense? That, like, at one point we were like, we don't mind about COVID, we need to get out of here, right? I am mentally needing to see other environments. I remember perhaps back in May, one day we were in total lockdown, right? No one could leave the house and everything. And I was like, okay, so mathematically speaking, the chance that I'm going to even see someone is very low. So I'm going to hop on my car. I'm just going to drive around, right? And I started creating this routine of just, hopping in the car, with a big bottle of alcohol gel and just driving around for an hour and a half, right? And then I realized that, no judgment here for either or, that if we went to the office, me and Rene at that time, we were actually as safe as if we were at home. And that's what happened, right? So that need for variety was very much a big driver for that decision. Now, it's very important that we consider this in the eyes of a range, right? At some point, you're going to need certainty. But when you have too much certainty, then, and you need a little bit of variety, then you start feeling anxious about things, right? Your customers have that anxiety as well about whatever it is that they need. So when you realize, right, the way that a lot of companies have started selling during this COVID period was, okay, I'm gonna get you mentally out of the situation you're in, and I'm gonna give you some variety, right? A big example that I see is travel, right? When people travel today, I mean, everybody's wearing masks, everybody's carrying gel, but God, they need to go somewhere and be there. Airbnb has grown tremendously now that some of these restrictions for travel are lifted because people, they just want to get out, right? Now, imagine the following situation. You're not able to afford a roof over your head. That's bad too. So when I say that we operate in ranges, what I really mean is that you need to know, these question marks are your reflection points. Where are you within that range at a certain period of time? The more you understand that, the easier it is for you to know, okay, so this is what I'm feeling. Hence, this is what I need to do. Does that make sense? Anybody, any questions up to this point? No? All right. So, moving forward. We have the need for significance, right? The next range is significant and love and connection, right? What is the need for significance? The need for significance is how do we become... Yes, I see a question.
Mario, it's just a comment that when you explained me the 6 human needs first time, you put the first 4, one in the left side and the other in the right side, to illustrate that we need to balance, right? We cannot be 100% certain and have variety at the same time, right? You need to decide. In the last 2 a little bit different. I think it was easier for me to understand in that way. I don't know if everybody has the same understanding or following that. You need to decide to balance at some point in time to have one more than the other, and as long as it's a conscious decision, it's better for you because you are aware, and the actions you are going to take, the decisions you are going to take, knowing that being aware will be much better than not knowing this. That's my only observation.
Tiago, thank you so much. And that's the benefit of having people in the room with the fresh knowledge. What you're saying is absolutely true, right? That conclusion usually gets built as we go through the exercise, but you're absolutely true. So these question marks that we have here in the middle, that's exactly what Tiago is alluding to, right? The more conscious you are about whatever it is that you need, the better decisions you're going to be taking. So if you need certainty at one point and variety at another point, that's perfectly fine. But most of the times you're going to be needing both, right? And in many cases, if you're on vacation, you want to have the certainty that your phone is not going to ring with a problem, and you want to have the certainty that somebody's taking care of your business back in the office. Does that make sense? But the variety element is, I want to be sitting on the beach, like reading a book and relaxing. Does that make sense, Tiago? Yeah? All right, super. So let's move towards significance and love, because as we progress, right, significance and love are the second range. Significance is the feeling that we have that whatever it is that we do and how we do is important, right? A lot of us, and I myself, for a great part of my life, have been driven by that. I still have that need, right? So it's not necessarily something bad. It's usually people who are successful, they have a high level of that need very clear for them, right? So I want to have an impact, right? And it's because of me. It's because of how I operate, is what I create, right? A lot of people say, well, you should be doing things for others and so on. And I will give an example, right, of how significance is important also and is connected with contribution. Sam Walton, in the late 80s, early 90s, the richest man in the world. He was the founder of Walmart. And he, I mean, the way for him to find significance, and he said that several times, was, I drive a red pickup truck, and that pickup truck is 20 years old. Because what I want is to show my people, right, that, you know, the cheapest is also good, and these are part of our values, right? So hang on a second. What he's doing here is he is actually driving his people, okay, and his entire organization through something that is important for him. When someone wants to do something for Greenpeace and they're going to do something, you know, in their house to ensure that it's environmentally correct and so on, it's also about them, right? Yes, they're contributing, no doubt about that, but it's for them, right? So it's very important that we recognize that need is always there, right? Even if you study biography of Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela and so on, there was a lot of self in what it is that they were doing, right? And recognizing that is very important, because what sits on the other side of this is love and connection, right? What does that mean? The need for love, it's in all of us, right? The biggest fear that we have in our lives from an early age is that we're not going to be loved, okay? So the more we understand the relationship between this is important for me, this is important for the other, okay? And where you are in the range, as Tiago alluded to, so where are you on that range, right? What do you need at a certain point in time? Right? And how do you build your behaviors out of that need, right, is what makes the difference. So I want to go into how, for example, right, and a big part of it when I'm doing a lot of executive consulting these days. And a big question that I always ask, right, who is that important for? Okay? Whenever you're talking to a customer, and you understand that, right? Is this important for you, or is this important for someone else, right? A big part of my, and obviously I'm going to go into exercise that some of you have been to and some of you have not been, but a big part of my 7 whys, right, of why I do what I do, is because I want to make my parents proud, And crazy enough, so even though significance is super important for me, I'm actually doing something because I want to be loved by my parents still, right? And I'm 43. And I was joking the other day with my mom about this, and she was like, I'm 74, my mother is 97, and guess what? I feel the same, okay? So keep that in mind, because when we realize the impact of those needs, it's easier for us to articulate what exactly it is that we need to do. When we understand why our customers feel and need the way they feel and need, it becomes easier for us to help them as well. Be it during the selling process, but also, and most important, whenever you're working on a project with them, right, and you're articulating the results with them, well, this is a game changer, right? Because then you understand exactly what it is that they need. Okay, do we have any questions up to this point? I want to go back to the first slide. I think Thiago had a great point about, understanding the construct. So do you have any questions about that? No questions. All right. So now we go into the spiritual needs. Why are these called spiritual needs, right? Because the first ones, they are within a range, and we can feel them, okay? But it's very hard for us to feel that on someone else, right? Whereas growth and contribution, it's easier for us to see the impact outside of us, right? It's a lot, and that is where these become so powerful. Now, one very important thing, and that's my personal experience, right? That's not the theory or anything around that. To me, I only got to the end of it when I understood what I needed in the first four, right? So I'm going to say it again. I only got to the end of it and understood the power of this when I got the first four right, in my mind, but also in my heart, right? I had to really reflect about what's important for me in terms of certainty, what's important for me in terms of variety, how do I react to one, how do I react to another, how do I react to when these things, they're moving, right, and they're changing all the time. There will be days, like Monday this week, I had 60% of the meetings I had with prospects canceled, right? And I was like, shit, why is this happening, right? My God, is this good, bad, or what? Well, the reality is, it doesn't matter, because what I replaced those prospects meetings with other activities that were value adding as well. And guess what? On Tuesday, I was certain that I was going to have a crazy day, because I had meetings from 5 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock, but 10 o'clock in the evening, right? And back to back, right? And that was a certainty I was not entirely sure I liked, but it ended up happening like that because of the circumstances that we had at the time. So what I'm trying to say here, the more you understand the first four, the easier it is for you to focus on the next two, right? And number 5 here is growth, right? Why is growth so important? Right? Growth is important because if you're not growing, you're dying. Trajectory matters, okay? Trajectory matters, and it matters not only for us, it matters for the world. So it's very important that you understand what growth is for each and every one of you, okay? So growth will mean different things for different people. So a big one for me, for example, is technology. Right? That I understand technology, that I'm building tech stacks in our businesses that are powerful and enable us to do more with less, right? So the more we're growing, the more the business is growing, the better you become, right? Why? Well, because then it unleashes number 6, which is contribution, right? This last week I read a book. It was the autobiography of Andrew Carnegie. He was the richest man in the world in the early 20th century, like a tycoon, and he was the first person that we know of that basically decided, okay, I'm going to give out all my money or most of my money before I die, right? I'm going to build schools, I'm going to build libraries, I'm going to build a lot of things. Now, a big part of this theory here comes from, so this is Tony Robbins, learning from a bunch of people, especially Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon Hill learned from Andrew Carnegie. So the exercise that I'm doing now is I'm trying to go back to, okay, how did this knowledge come about, right? So this is a lot of growth for me, right? But it's also to do with, okay, how did this knowledge was created, if you will, right? And a big part of it, okay, comes from, 2,000 years ago. But now, if the philosophy of 2,000 years ago can help men like Andrew Carnegie, can help men like Napoleon Hill create and grow businesses in many different ways, right? I think there's something on that. Now, the whole thing about contribution, and for me that is a pivot of the reinvention revolution, right? Is giving something back, right? Giving something to people that they can work with and that is impactful in their lives. So here's the thing that I want to make sure that you take from it. If you don't take anything else from this, you have to take that. When we contribute, when we have a mission, a purpose that is larger than ourselves, things are going to immediately improve in our lives. Why? Well, because that sense of contribution is in all of us, right? What sets it apart from a lot of successful people is that they focus on their sense of contribution more than their need to survive. So I'm going to say it again. They focus on their sense of contribution more than their need to survive. So what happens is that they take care of that first part first so that they are free to go out and contribute. That's why the range of the human needs is so important, that you get to a point where you're contributing, okay? And through that, you increase your sense of worth, your sense of purpose, and you're expanding what you're doing. All right? So, do we have questions up to this point? These are the 6 human needs. They are super important. Okay? Before we go, and I want to make sure that we don't take too much time. First, this is for you. Okay? The more you understand this, the better the quality of your life is going to be. I have no doubt about that. Okay? Second, contribute. Okay? Start small, but do it, because that becomes a propeller. You may not understand what's happening with you until you get a better handle of the 6, but get started with contributing. Right? Help someone. Build something small. Use 5 minutes to do something, to do work that will be impactful for someone else, right? Why? Well, do it and then tell me. And I know that most of you are already doing that, right? And then the last thing is reflect, always, okay? Whenever you are in a situation where you're wondering, okay, what should I do now? Well, get this presentation, look at the needs, and think, where am I? Okay? That simple exercise is going to help you ground yourself is going to help you understand what it is that you need to do and what is the path that you need to take in order to improve that quality of the sense of self almost immediately. Okay? So now, the favorite part, ask me anything. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that you would like to know? You're very quiet today.
Okay, I will comment again. Mario, I
Yes.
still remember, I'm still working on this, right? I think I'm getting there, but when you mentioned the last two, growth and contribution, I said, so I need to grow first and then I can start contributing to others because this is one of my objectives in life as well. And then you
Yes.
told me, no, it's a little bit the other way around, right? Start contributing and then you are going to grow. And then I say, okay, how I'm going to do that, right? And I'm trying small things, as you mentioned, 5 minutes here, or dedicating a little bit there, with no expectation, right? Just doing for the sake of trying to help people and then seeing what's happening. I think that's the concept you tried to explain the other day, correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct, Thiago. I'm gonna tell you something. So when I started this, I didn't really know how I was gonna do it, right? And the reality is that some days I wake up and I have an idea and I think, okay, the good thing is I now have Rene, right? And then I ask Rene, and Rene will come back and say, well, this is a great idea, Mr. V, or you know what, Mr. V, you're full of shit. But one of the things that I learned early on in this process was that I have something that I can give to people, right, that will genuinely impact their quality of life. And I remember I met this guy this old guy in Brazil, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, right? And he's a great guy, very simple man, amazing guy. And he invented something, right? And I was like, oh, I can help you, sure. Let's do something with this, but you know what? I don't want to charge you. And so I was helping them, trying to organize all these things that they were trying to do, right? And in the meantime, my dad, who's been retired for 25 years, he wanted to start something as well, a company. So I opened a company for my dad, and you know, things started moving in a certain direction. And then 3 months ago, this guy whom I had helped like 2 years ago, he comes back to me and say, we're ready to launch. We're ready to go, right? And I was like, well, thank you. But I'm sorry, but right now I don't have the time to help you, and I'm really sorry for that. But you know, things were happening, and he was like, yeah, no, but I would really like to bring you into this, right? Okay, what does that mean, right? And he was like, no, I want to give you a piece of the action. Okay, but I still don't have the time. I mean, that's not going to change. So I was like, let's do something. I'm going to put you in contact with my dad, right? And I'm going to make sure that my dad has all the knowledge that he doesn't have today to run with this, but it's going to be him running with it, and I'm going to be supporting him, right? So they talked, they connected, and through that, those two little acts of selflessness, right? Now my dad is working to get that patent commercialized, you know, both in Brazil and eventually internationally. Why am I saying this? Because most of the things that you do that tend to be very small and insignificant at a first sight may become something important for you down the road. So I absolutely love what you said, Thiago, and that's why those 5-10 minutes every day, super important. Super important. Thank you so much for the contribution. Anybody else? Any other questions? No? Okay. I have two things. And Charlie, if you're recording this, which I hope you are, so next week we're going to have a little bit of a class, and Cass, yeah, I know who is the boss there, Cass. Thank you. And I want to make sure that next week we're going to talk a little bit about automation. So I'm putting together a couple of examples of how you can automate simple things in your business, okay, that will facilitate you growing that business in a larger group of people, okay? I think, yeah, I know I'm getting a lot of requests for that, also from the people who are watching the video later on. So let's make sure that that if you want to know something specific, you know, send me an email or how do I automate this? Is there a way to automate that? Because then we can put that as part of, you know, the 30 to 45 minutes thing that that we're going to have next week. All right? So, before we go, you know, I'm a huge fan of this guy here, and I've been willing to use this for a long time. Okay? Right now, we are ready to launch Act Now. Okay? The content is ready. For those of you who have been part of the family for a while, you've been using it for a while, we made a few modifications. We actually have a better structure now. For those of you who are not part of the family who are watching this, Act Now is our, I wouldn't call it time management, but it is a way for you to become more productive with your day, right? I use this on a daily basis now for many years. A lot of the people who start using that when they join the Reinvention Revolution, they say, it's amazing, I'm getting a lot of more hours on my day because of the structured approach to thinking. So what we've decided is we're going to wrap this up in a course, right? Which we're going to then sell to people out there to help them with their time. But what we want to do is one of the things that I learned is the best way for us to do this is when we do it live with people. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be having a couple of sessions of Act Now live with members of the family for free, obviously, right? And then out of that, we're going to be recording the training as such, right? So the first session for that is going to be next Friday. I'm still finalizing the script, but right now it looks like anywhere between 90 minutes and 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you've been, if you are in the mentoring program or if you've been to the mentoring program, this is part of the lifetime commitment of giving you everything that we have. If you can't watch that, we're going to send invites to you guys within the next couple of hours. But what I want to make sure is that you know and you're aware. If someone you know would like to watch that, please circulate that email. We're going to be inviting a wide audience, but only the people who have been part of the mentoring program will have first access. Everyone else who's not in the live will have to go out and buy the training later on, right? We're going to make sure that it's cheap. As I said, we want to contribute as well. Well, this is the biggest thing about the Reinvention Revolution. So I want to make sure that that we give back, and Act Now is just the first step towards that. All right. So thank you so much for this. It's been a great pleasure to have you all here today. I hope you have loved. And well, I'll see you next week for automation, and hopefully if you have the time for Act Now live. All right. Thank you so much, guys. See you.